So, to get started on today's topics, we're going to discuss calling the client by name and what that means. So typically, when we do that, everyone has a unique name. Everyone is conditioned to know that name from really birth because our parents call it to us. Like Lenny, so my daughter, knew her name and responded to it at about 6 months. So everyone understands it. We're conditioned to have a sort of autonomic response to it. So that being said, there was a research that said that when a name is called, so like if I say Lowry or Caitlin, when I call your name, you have something that lights up in your brain. It makes you tune in a little closer, maybe panic set in a little bit, but ultimately it makes you tune in, listen a little more. That being said, it's also tied to our recall. So it's going to make you remember the situation more. It's going to make you remember the words that I'm talking about. So how does that, relate to our clients? Well, when we talk to our clients, use their name. Use it when we're asking them questions or when we're walking through products and giving responses. Now, like I said before, because it has a individual autonomic response that it makes individuals have, use that, and it prompts those specific and unique responses and creates powerful associations for them so that when they're going through it, it's going to make them have a personal connection to you. It's going to make that client experience better. Just how, and even if it's going to bring people back into the conversation if they start to trail out as well. So if you're in the lunchroom and you're eating lunch with your friends, you might be in a conversation, but if you hear someone say your name, like Caitlin, then all of a sudden you're going to turn around and you're going to tune into what they're saying. So if you feel a client starting to trail out and become engaged, don't hesitate to call them by their name, ask them a question. You can even, call them by their name when you're talking about content or a strategy. But that being said, on the flip side, if you're not actively listening, if you happen to trail off and you hear them talking and maybe you're looking at your phone or something like that, just know that if you want to bring yourself back into the conversation, maybe you missed something, say their name, bring them, answer, start listening, answer the response using their name. It's going to make that, again, personal connection and tie you back into that conversation in a much smoother way. Also, when people hear their name, people tend to like you more. It instills confidence. It makes them understand that not only you know what you're talking about, but you know it so well that you're using your name and confidently. Also, it conveys a sense of being interpreted as caring and empathetic. And really, as we talked all this week, that's really how we tie it in there. We want them to have a good experience. We want to make those personal connections with them so that they see us as a trusted advisor and a friend. Also, like I said earlier, it demonstrates and gives a good first impression if you use it, and it lets you know that you're taking their business seriously. Now, as I mentioned before about the loyalty part, using their name makes them feel important, makes them feel validated, and also gives them just overall stronger feelings for you, which makes them less likely to, cancel, or less likely to kind of tune out and not feel what we're doing is important to them. Now, just know that we should be saying everyone's name, but there is a fine line in overusing it. So don't overuse it. Don't say it too much, because then you teeter over that line and you come off insincere and condescending. And that's ultimately the last thing we want to do. So just make sure that we're using it in good, purposeful ways, so that we're making those relationships with them and giving them just an overall more positive client experience. And that's what I had to say. So, yeah, our featured AC is Allison.
Good morning, Allison.
Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so for the client experience, this goes with what Brittany said about making them feel a certain way, but it's something that my mom always used to say and my grandma, but they didn't come up with it, actually. It was Maya Angelou, so. But it's they may not remember what you said or what you did for them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. So they might not remember like everything we talked about on the phone. Maybe they forget every call, and that's fine, but they might feel like inside a sense of comfort with you on the phone, or they might really enjoy talking to you, or so that's kind of what I always strive for. So when I'm on the phone with clients, I want them to hear like friendliness in my voice, and I want them to walk away feeling like they had a friendly interaction with me on the phone. So I just wrote that I think you can convey a lot in how you make someone feel. So if they feel comfortable with you, they're more willing to talk about things, even if it's not just their business. So just yesterday, I had a couple of people who were actually in the car on the phone, which sometimes that happens when they're going between jobs, but they would just trail off and start talking about personal things. And I mean, that's fine. I mean, there can be structure to the call, obviously, but sometimes I like to let them just kind of share personal things because I think, makes them feel more open on the phone. So how you make them feel determines if the experience is memorable or not. Something unique that I do, I really try to let my personality shine through. I'm a people person, so even if it's on the phone, I like my calls to feel structured, but I also want the client to feel like I'm not just going through the motions. So it can sometimes feel serious, at the beginning of the call, especially if they've never talked to you before. So I like to joke or like share like a laugh or something, whether or not I really think it's funny, but it just helps them open up. Or even if they don't think my joke's funny, I'm still gonna laugh. But so I'm definitely always willing to chat longer than normal, even if it's about personal things, just because it breaks up, the occasional, monotonous business call. And I always try to remember that patience is key. So they say patience is a form of action. And sometimes we get impatient with people on the phone. So I always try to be really patient and let them kind of work it out. Sometimes they really just need to hear it out loud, or just acknowledge that that's, be acknowledged that that's the way they feel. So I always try to do that. I love talking, so if they want to talk. So sometimes I can, go over on calls that don't even really need to be as long as they were. But hey, if it helps in the end, if, makes them call back or leaves them feeling like I actually care about what we're doing on the phone, then it's a win. So whether it's a good issue or bad, I want to hear about it from them. And just remember, guys,
No.
in the tire that is life, sometimes there will be holes, and you'll just have to plug them right along. Isn't that right? That's it. That's all I have.
All right, so now you're challenged. You see. Or I am.
Ooh, Carmen. She's like, no.
All right, so then the contest is for yourself and Carmen to submit the best call today that shows genuine interest by calling someone by their name. And the daily tip is to show genuine interest and provide a superior client experience by calling them by their name throughout the conversation. And that is it.